Thank you very much for coming here, Andreas. It's really a pleasure to meet you again. Our first meetup was at the Digital Nomad Festival. It seems like a long time, but it's just last September, I think.
Yes.
And I guess from that time, a lot of things has happened in the country, especially in Tirana. Or to my knowledge, I have more information, I have more know-how, I see a lot of more nomads visiting the country, and I see like a movement. Maybe I'm part of the groups, I'm part of the LinkedIn or your LinkedIn connection, and maybe I see that it's happening, or it's something that you feel it too, on your perspective.
I think, thank you for the invite. Tirana is picking up the vibe and actually is embracing the digital nomads and remote work movement more than other places which I experienced so far. They stay involved and they keep moving things forward.
I want to share a little bit of our perspective here. When we, let's say, changed the system from 1990, and we were thinking that everything that was going on beyond our borders were the good, were the best, or better than us. Whatever country that might be, whatever culture that might be. So we are referring to them that out of our country it happens like this. And the family, it was like a sacred in Albania. We are saying that we are not doing good, because in other places family is not so strongly related, they go on their own, they do this, they that. So we admired things that we didn't have. But now, during also this time, and according to your experience, I see that we have to keep to our values, we have to keep to our culture and try to promote this. And it happens as well in other sectors of life, especially with businesses that are grown here. They seem a little bit inferior. They think that their talent or their education system here is not that good that they can go there and achieve their success. But now we have to evaluate what we have advantage, what we have talent, what we have good, and keep it here. Thanks for putting it in this spotlight.
I think you can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of life. What you have are great assets from my perspective, including fiber optics, which work. And you have a population, as I said, which embraces family. So when you come with children from the outside, you feel more welcome than in most other places. I haven't seen a ranking for that yet, but if there would be a ranking, how welcome are you as an international family with children coming into the country, Albania would probably be in the top 10 or in the top 5. And so that is, I think, a powerful feature to use, and one of the things I keep highlighting in my communication with the authorities here, and I highly recommend to focus on the things you are best at, and don't try to compete with Portugal, Spain, and other places around the world, or Mexico. I would rather focus on something where you have a chance to play in the Champions League.
Cool. You mentioned that you can do whatever you want to do. It's like in this life. Is this the type of philosophy that is under the digital nomading lifestyle?
It's a human feature.
Why people use to choose this digital nomading? Or can you explain a little bit more? Because for you it's common.
Yes.
For I have learned, I've read about it, but I guess for many people they want to know more.
I will give you a link about a beautiful research done, which was published in the New York Times. And if you look back in the last 100,000 years, you will realize that nomadism, analog nomadism, if you want to use the terminology, has been serving humanity and the know-how transfer of humanity ever. So it was a common feature. If you want to exchange know-how, you go into different territories.
Sure.
So, and we are doing, at the end of the day, we are focused on that. Yeah, so the core thought leaders of the movement are people who love to share knowledge and who do it proactively. Yeah, they only go to events where you have local participation. Yeah. And one of the beautiful things last year in the Digital Nomad Festival in Tirana, there was a significant chunk of local people. There was a lot of communication between the international community and the local. So that is core. You have events in the same segment of the digital nomad movement, which are 90% or 99% only international people, which I wouldn't even attempt. Because I believe that the core, if you look back to the roots of nomadism, is know-how exchange. And that only happens if there is know-how exchange. I learn about Albania, and you learn about a few things which I've experienced. And this is the beauty. Yeah? And so that is, I believe, the essence.
That was a little bit difficult, let's say, before the digital area. because you could not manage to keep your family, to do the work.
Exactly.
And now this has changed things.
I grew up with that. I was blessed to be in a city where all kind of mobile telecommunication systems were tested by Deutsche Telekom. I was it was on my doorstep, and I've been in this all my life, and I was always fascinated how great it is if you can call people who know more than you do. Yeah, and so, wow, I don't have to have all the answers myself. I just need to have the questions. Yeah, it didn't go too well with my teachers, so they didn't like that philosophy. This is why I had to leave formal schooling pretty early. But I keep learning ever since, and love to learn the things I'm really excited about, including now learning about new countries and new places.
Nowadays we have these new terms. I call them new, but you tell me that nomading is not something new. But the remote work, people who used to work in different places for different positions. Is this that some professions are more privileged to do that than others, or we can do whatever skills we have, we can use them and try to get this type of lifestyle?
If you look 10 years ahead and look into what artificial intelligence will replace, you will be surprised that the most things will work remotely as well. Yeah, and so the human interaction, with us in the non-automated way, but focusing on what are the human drivers and how do you embrace humanity, will be not AI based, because you cannot delegate this to computers. But everything which you can replicate and repeat will be logically AI based. Right now, it's probably 60% of the things which can be done remotely. And the world got a beautiful wake-up call through the COVID experience, where people even realized if you go to your GP, through your doctor, most of the things can be done in a video call. Oh, this is my child is coughing. Then the doctor asks you 2 questions, because he has on his screen the standard questions. Where have you been? What's the situation? So he goes through a little
protocol.
Exactly, and it's much faster than going to his clinic. So they realized even for the medical world, a huge part can be done remotely so much faster, so much more efficient, and neither the child nor the mother is dragged into getting into a car, getting to a doctor, parking the car, waiting in the waiting room, and all of it. So we realized in the medical world, a huge chunk, 70-80% I saw in America, has been beautifully delegated through telecommunication empowered solutions. So a video, an audio experience, and the data which is there. So much faster, easy, tick, 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 and you have it in your computer system. So not anymore you go to the doctor, he has a piece of paper which she gives to his assistant, later she puts it into a filing system, all taking too much time and not efficient. So we experienced through COVID a wake-up call how powerful it is to have the child not being dragged out of the house, but you can help them. And so more and more of that is becoming a normal reality. And the biggest wake-up call which I saw happen early this year. There's a guy called Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger, M-U-N-G-E-R, is a business partner of Warren Buffett. Yeah, and Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are considered as institutions in their personal capacity in the investment world.
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time. And Charlie said, we don't need an office. We work, we call each other, we circulate documents, and this is how they have been running their investment management for quite a while. So, as of that moment, CEOs will have to explain why and has to justify the expense of an office. So these things are now turned on the head. So offices are expensive, they're normally heated, or they need a lot of electricity 365 days per year, 24 hours. Yeah, you pay rent, which is a huge chunk of money. So now we're in a situation that the money managers question, why do you need an office? So it's turned upside down. And that's the beauty. So I'm sure the history books early this year, that statement of Charlie Munger will be in the history books as a milestone where things tripped. Yeah, the fuse which tripped, people now have to justify the expense of an office. And this is going to hit more and more places. You have the first countries like the Netherlands where you have the right to work remotely. So this is turned on its head, and people realize, even in the data from universities like Stanford University, people who work remotely are actually more efficient. The productivity is increased by working remotely. As they don't go on sick leave, They don't mind showing up 20 minutes early because they don't have to get into the car. Yeah, so there are actual benefits, not only for the human who is working, but for the company, for the profitability of the company. So it's a win-win-win scenario. This is what we face today.
Okay, I think there are pros and cons about this as well, yeah. Because there are claiming from companies or big tech like Elon Musk, who didn't appreciate the remote working. He was calling everybody in the office, or there are pros and cons, and we never know.
And you will look back in 10 years, and I'm sure about that, and say yes, logically there's always some resistance. But you know what? When I was carrying my first mobile phone, I had a business card only with a mobile phone. People were highly suspicious. Yeah, so I've experienced those things a few times based on the blessing of being born early enough before digitalization started. Yeah. So I have seen those things, the resistance of humans to change. Ultimately, it is more human and life-centric when people can work remotely, and yes, they still meet, but they meet for the purpose of growing relationships, not for the purpose of sitting in an office where they email and call each other again. So most office buildings, they call each other and email each other in any case. So it's a waste on so many angles, but you are right, there is some resistance, but resistance has been there always. When we got the first motorized car, we were scared of the car. We had a flag runner. Somebody with a red flag had to run in front of the car. Change. Exactly, because they thought humans and animal livestock will get a heart attack by actually a motorized vehicle passing. So this red flag law was around, the red flag runner was around for a long time. So humans have the design of resisting change. All I'm saying from my lived experience and my beliefs, this is the new normal. There will be resistance, that's correct, but I believe the biggest opportunity for the neighborhood here is to embrace remote work, not only for the local talent, but even for the international talent like Germans who want to embrace equality for their families and for their kids of a place like Albania. So these are powerful features which a place like Albania can compete with in the best way possible.
But I guess let's make it a little bit more specific.
Yes.
Because we're talking about youth.
Yes.
They should embrace remote work.
They can, but
they can.
It's like walking. It's like instead of crawling, they start walking.
They are used to another norm. Let's say you go to school, you go to university, and then get somewhere to find a job in your surroundings, in your city, through your relationships. How can they make it different this way? How can they embrace this type of remote work? Because I asked you, do you need other skills, or it's important you just use the skills you have, or how they can be prepared to start this one?
There are a few skills which help. And one of the initiatives which came up last year during the Digital Nomad Festival was that my daughter Maya, when she had dialogues with the youth and with participants, the local community, she said, Papa, why don't we help them, or why don't we help them to get skills to make money remotely from their phones and from their iPads? I said, sure, let's put something together. And we did. So giving the youth, the teenagers, the tools allows them to get remote work. And they can get remote work either from Albanians outside of Albania, as an example, or they can get remote work from international companies, platforms, individuals. And this logically is a great alternative for them to obtain work and assignments which are well paid and which allow them to be flexible. So the beautiful terminology of being a freelancer allows them to still do other things, but spend a week or a few days per month and actually pursuing those assignments and making money with it.
I've seen you posting about the program, the virtual assistant program.
Yes.
So what do they exactly do there?
It's like getting a driver's license. Yeah. So if you want to drive a car, you need a driver's license. What you do with the car, you can become a taxi service, you can drive an ambulance, or you can just drive by yourself, or you drive your grandma around. So, but you still need a driver's license and basic skills how to do it. So this is there are similar models around for remote work. And after Maya came up with the idea last autumn, we contacted a few people whom I know, and we put something together where they are taught, like a car driver's license, they are taught, they get a driver's license for remote work, if you want to use that comparison. So they are taught all the tools which are necessary, that like driving a car, they can drive remote work assignments. That's the simple model. And we have established this now in Albania. in collaboration with a digital nomad kit, which is one of the most powerful and competent players, Hannah Dixon, in this field. We have collaborated with Tumo, who trains in any case teenagers who are then looking for what to do with this skill. So we pick them up from when they're trained at Tumo and give them skills which helps them to become freelancers and make money. So it's the symbiosis.
Good connection, symbiosis.
Yes.
Because they get the skills at Tumo and then they can get hired after this licensing.
Yes.
So
it's even better than being hired, because normally being hired means you become a slave. A slave for a company which wants you to show up minimum 5 days per week. So no, I'm not. I'm not in that part. I want them to be free, feel free, and work when they want to work and get paid for it. So that's my philosophy. So I think this is empowering teenagers. That's where I come from. And yes, we have a model which is doing that. And we have now the first 12 who are trained. And I'm looking forward to the day when we have the first 100, the first 1,000, and this is going to have a positive impact on Albania and Albanians in the neighborhood, so I can see that.
I'm really interested to get to know some of them. We'll invite later Jon, and he will explain to us a little bit how was the experience and what did he learn. It is the first cohort, so it will be an important milestone, I guess, if we have 100 or 1,000 on the next months or years.
The people I picked for this have trained 27,000.
27,000. Worldwide?
Yes. And so everybody joining here is joining that group. And this is a group of people who love to collaborate. They don't compete, they collaborate. So whenever you have a problem, you can post it in the groups and they help you. So that is a powerful thing. So for these teenagers, yes, they join a group of 27,000 people who are used to collaborate. So, and that is, I think, powerful beyond belief, because it gives them a belonging factor to people who are there to support them. Not only now, but for the next 30 years. Yes, community included, but the main thing is if they have a work assignment, they look for work. Yeah, they can share who they are, and this leads to work assignments. And then if they're stuck with the work assignment, they can ask for help. That's the beauty which I experienced in the digital nomad groups globally. That what I learned at school was competing. And I was not interested to compete with my other students in the class. The only thing I enjoyed was competing with myself. Yeah, I was supposed to run really fast, but being 1.5 heads taller than everybody else, it's just not ideal. Yeah, my aerodynamics don't work. They're working against me. So I said, why should I run faster 50 meters than a guy who is half my size? So I wasn't interested. And then they said, yeah, but you get a bad grade. I said, okay.
I have to.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
I took the grade.
I was happy with the grades. I was born as the youngest of 8. I was lucky that my parents were not too excited anymore about my grades, and I had some kind of freedom to actually operate the way how I felt to be right.
Good. It seems really exciting, because we used to encourage entrepreneurs, startups, and I see that being like this type of behavior, being free, trying to do your own things, trying to compete with yourself, are characteristics that are also part of being an entrepreneur, because they want to be free, they want to do their own way, they want to not compete with others but compete with themselves. So I think it's really encouraging also for youth to go these directions as well.
Yes, but you know what? Startups are really, really, really difficult. I did a few myself. And so I can only recommend you do a startup for this number of people. If this is what it is, tiny group. So to be a freelancer and spend 5 days or 3 days per month and work on work assignments which you get, that's doable. Yeah. If you want to do a startup, which easily takes up 24 hours of your day, and it's the #1 priority, so this has a strong impact on so many things. So being a founder of a startup is something which I said I can only recommend to probably 0.0001% of people I meet. Yeah. Being a freelancer, I can recommend to 90+%. So that's the difference. We're talking here about taking the teenagers from crawling to walking. Yeah, and thinking in terms of global work. Yeah, and getting paid rates which are international rates. That's all. So they are not supposed to assign their life to a startup, because that is only for very few.
There's another decision.
Yes, it's by far more demanding. Let's not underestimate it. If they get a driver's license for remote work, that allows them to drive a car. I do not expect them to become a Michael Schumacher or to drive Formula One. It's a totally different cup of tea. I'm very happy if they can drive, that if you use that comparison, taxi for maybe 3 days per month. That's fine. They don't have to become a racing driver. No. It's a totally different. So a startup is comparable to me, from my perspective, like driving Formula One. So you have to do everything in your life, and there's nothing more important than to succeed. And that is only for very few people.
I get the difference. Really explanatory. Okay, so what can Albania do to add more to this type of? We have a first cohort, 12 young people that have started the program. What are the necessary things to do? Who do we ask for? You said the public authorities have, the leaders are supporting, they are on board.
They're on the ball, they ask great questions.
What has to happen next? Because as far as I know, there is also improvement on the Startup Go, which is also the Digital Nomads Go included in that, I think, and there are some minor changes that will make the experience better. Is under the consultation, as far as I know. Do you have some information about
there's
that?
not. Yes, I do. I think they actually don't have to do much. You already have people who are very international in their thinking. The teenagers I meet are fluent in multiple languages. Wow. Go to Italy, doesn't exist. Yeah? The teenagers I find here have an attitude to look at the world. Go to Italy, they think Italy is world. So you already have this. You don't have to do anything about it. You have fiber optics, which actually work. Nice. So the most things you already have. Yeah? And you have a leadership which is colorful and gets things done. Yeah, if you walk through Tirana, it's inspiring. Yeah, and go walk through Sicily as an example, it's filthy, it's dirty. So there are a lot of things which are already on a good path. That's the way I look at it. People who take the initiative, after Skelly saw what happened last year with the Digital Nomad Festival, he reached out to me and he wanted to organize a conference about remote work. And he's quick. He asks questions, he implements, he organizes the conference very much on his own initiative and with his own sources to funding and people. He's organizing an event this year on the 11th of November, focused on how to empower the youth in the country, especially focused on Tirana, with remote work and with artificial intelligence. And what I understood from him, he's reaching out to the schools to get the student leaders to brainstorm what are the subjects, how can artificial intelligence help youth as a student? How does AI do my homework, as an example? Isn't that beautiful? So there are great things where AI can really help the students to make sure they get excited about it. And I'm sure if you can delegate the majority of your homework to AI. So when you and I went to school, probably it was a pocket calculator. Yeah. So we had a pocket calculator which was an innovation at the time, so much faster. Now with AI, that's taken to a level of, let's say, factor 1 million compared to our pocket calculator experience. But nevertheless, so he's organizing an event in November to find teenagers who are excited about remote work and AI, who brainstorm kind of the subjects and then bring international experts together and have sessions where they brainstorm in front of a whole bunch of them to make sure the subjects become more the norm. Yeah, and on the mainstream knowledge of every teenager said, wow, AI, remote work, that's the way to go. That's a driving license I want to have. That's what he's doing, and yes, what they can do in theory from the schools and the authorities to support, as an example, people like Skelly. You know what? If they don't do it, it will happen in any case. Yeah, so if you tell the teenagers they can delegate their homework, they will figure it out. So if you want to support it, great. If you don't support it, trust me, they're so fast in finding solutions which helps their life, they will figure it all out by themselves. If you want to support them and to look good, help people like Skelly.
Yes, and as a parent, I like my kids to use the tools this way, not just keep them out of it.
And they should, because this is boosting humanity. The rest can be automated. So AI will take over many, many things. Robots will take over many, many things, and we should focus on the human-centric, life-centric features. They cannot be delegated.
The last question before we go to Yoni. I have seen also through a post on LinkedIn about this Manabu movement. Can you explore this a little bit more? What does it include in it? And I want to ask, how does the family keep up with the digital nomad lifestyle? How your Maya goes to school? What's is she to public education, or is another way of she gets schooling?
Manabu is Japanese and means educate.
education.
Because I believe often it's better to use the terminology which is not immediately, instantly understood, to make sure people realize education is a lifetime assignment. Yeah, we should stop giving people the feeling that if they get a degree that they actually know it all. Yeah, sadly enough, I meet too many who are 25 and who believe they learned it all. Yeah, and then come out, they forget the source code to their software. Yeah, so they're not anywhere able to get updates because they believe they know it all. Yeah, and so this is what the current education system makes them believe, and which is a very difficult situation because they are not able to adapt to change, which is a permanent experience. So Manabu was created by a lady in Switzerland, who's based in Switzerland. She met Maya in 2018 in Zagreb, Croatia, and they started talking. And this led to the first project where Maya said we have to actively do something. They were creating visuals and they're creating animation and all this stuff. She said, no, let's do something concrete. Let's pick up friends of hers, and she was, how old was she at the time? Much younger, so she's now 10, she was probably 6 or 7. And she organized some friends of hers, and they organized cleaning up an area, local park, which is walking distance, and arguing, talking to grown-ups to stop throwing around their cigarette butts and explaining to them why they don't dissolve. So they researched it, and then argue with grown-ups, stop throwing it around. And if a 6 or 7-year-old kiddo tells you this, it's so much easier for grown-ups to relate to it. Just imagine you and I talk to them, they will probably start to have a fight. Yeah? And we don't need that. But if you have the youth doing it and having a concrete example, it works. Those projects were scaled across Croatia to 50 schools who picked it up. They loved it because the national TV picked it up. It was on HRT, I think it's called over there, HRT1, I believe. And so 50 schools picked it up, and this is an example how simple, sustainable ideas can become hugely scalable if you let them do it. So one of the principles of Manabu is take ideas which the kids come up with, support them to implement them, and allow them to scale it. And so this is what Manabu stands for, and Manabu is now a foundation registered in America, and it's recently got a certification to be one of the 1% of the non-profit organizations which is considered as super transparent and very credible. So Manabu does that and takes initiatives. So as an example, Maya came up with the idea last year during the Digital Nomad Festival. The discussion happened with a lady in Switzerland, how can we do it? And this led to actually putting this program together and finding people like Lumiana, who's managing it here, and so who makes sure she picks the right teenagers, moderates it, helps them when they're stuck during the program, and is the interface to make sure that program gets executed across the Albanian-rooted teenagers in a country called Albania, in places like Kosovo, and where do you find them? Together with the international community of Albanian leaders, a great group on Facebook called Albanian Leaders, 6,500, so who are interested to support things which are simple, scalable, and sustainable. Yeah, they're looking for that. They're looking for solutions where you don't just send money home to Albania, no, but where you can put money where it teaches people to make money and share that. Exactly, make a scalable scenario which works. And so that is what this is focused on. Second question you asked, how does it work for families? Families are the foundation of the digital nomad and remote work movement. Why? First of all the digital nomads get older. Number one. Number two, it has the lifestyle for a lot of people in the early 20s go partying and have a good time. That fades out. Yeah, so because you can go to Ibiza, you can go to Miami, you can do this everywhere. So the people where it has the biggest impact is families. Why? If you have somebody who wants to have a family and is committed to that, for them to have a remote work or digital nomad experience is super powerful. Why? Because they can afford to actually be a family and be with the children. Why? Because if they get, let's say, let's say they get 1,000 euros and they're in Frankfurt. If they are digital nomads and remote workers, their 1,000 euros will last 3 to 4 times longer. So they can actually spend time together. They don't have to deliver the kids in the morning in a concrete box called their preschool playgroup. They don't have to deliver their kids in a concrete box called kindergarten. They don't have to deliver their kids in a concrete box called primary school. They don't. Many of them realized during COVID that homeschooling and being an active part in their kids' education is super powerful. The kids learn so much more from their parents or from groups of motivated parents than from any kindergarten, primary school, or high school. And that's documented. If you check out hashtag Sir Ken Robinson, Ken, K-E-N, like Barbie, adults, Robinson like Robinson Crusoe, you will find his speech, which is the #1 TED speech on the planet. Sadly, he died too early, but his TED speech includes the fact that scientific research confirmed that the creativity and problem-solving skills of kids at kindergarten level is 98% tested at genius level. 98%.
Yeah.
Where do you think that number is when they finish
Very
schooling?
low.
To which level?
3 times less.
It's 10%. So you actually systematically, the current education model which we have destroys creativity and problem-solving skills. And there is one thing which moves humanity forward.
But we have to
It's
change the whole system.
creativity. It will happen gradually. Right now you see there's already 500,000 of people around the planet who world school their children, who believe that the best classroom for children is the world, and is traveling and experiencing different places. Yes, it's a different model, but you know what, everything starts small. Right now that is at roughly 500,000. And there are places where this is existing on a wider scale. But the knowledge you can obtain these days through online courses, through homeschooling courses which are online, and through world schooling hubs is second to none.
I think with the latest development with AI and ChatGPT, we will have our tutors or our doctors or everything in our hands.
We will have probably a dialogue around this table in a year from now, and we will realize schools will stop giving kids homework because they all delegated to AI. So they will rather
My
focus.
kids would be really pleased about that.
Yes, but they should rather focus on NLP, on neuralistic programming. They should understand issues which are really making a difference from a human design perspective, which you cannot delegate to AI. So what I'm trying to say, a little few steps in between allow us to realize that the content we teach to our kids is important to be any content which AI cannot replace. Because they will never be able to compete with AI. If you see lawyers right now, lawyers are some of the most disorganized people when it comes to customer-centric attitude, when it comes to timing. So, because they're not trained like this. You go to, and even for a lawyer to research all the case law is a nightmare. AI can do it in a split second. AI can draft a contract in seconds. And you know what, these contracts are more accurate than the most lawyers are able to create. So the lawyers have to be trained differently. And this is the same thing if you go back to current schooling models. They're trained at this stage like lawyers who are still searching for case law. So AI does this. So we have to adjust. We have to adjust in the things where the human interface is the core. That is the future and already part of the present.
It's really, really nice to keep talking like this. You mentioned that we'll talk again next year.
It's an offer. It's an offer. It's always nice
It's
to
an
have
offer
this
from
dialogue.
my side,
Yeah.
and I'm really eager to see how are you going to push the conversation after 1 year, because we will see, I think, the results with your initiatives. We'll see how the world is changing, and the world is changing really, really fast, and they've made us.
It's beautiful to be alive.
Yeah. Thank you.